This is our friendly security guard who's trying to get us out of here. Boat of the Year winner, Key West 2008. Unbelievable regatta in the Farr 40. In the Farr 40, Barking Mad was just announced the winner of Boat of the Year. These guys were tied with Mescalzone Latino on points, won it with 2 bullets to 1 in what was probably one of the most competitive Farr 40 regattas ever. And it's only going to get better leading up to first Miami and then the Worlds in Miami in April. I've got Jim Richardson, I've got Terry Hutchinson, both of them friends of our site, both of them fans of what we do, and both of them amongst the best in the game. Jim, can you just tell us how it feels to win Boat of the Week after, you know, really sweating and bleeding this class for a long, long time?
It feels awesome to win Boat of the Week. It felt awesome to win this regatta. It's been, you know, this is my 11th Key West race week, and we've come close a bunch of times, and to actually get over the hump and win the regatta just feels awesome.
Terry, you had some of the top guys on the planet to compete against this week. You had your old nemesis, Brad Butterworth and Ernesto to worry about. You had Kayard, you had, you know, Perry, you had really everybody that could be there was there. You know, it's a matter of a tenth of a knot in this class. What did you do to just win it?
We have a pretty solid game plan that starts with our warm up to the regatta. We spend a fair amount of time practicing in Key West prior to the event, and in general, I'm only as good as the guy that I sit next to. And so, as I continually tell Jim, we'll be as smart as we are fast. And between him and Skip and Morgan and Zach and the rest of the team on the boat always goes through the water really nicely. And so, from a tactical perspective, those things really work in your favor. This week wasn't necessarily our best performance, but you know, at the end of the day, it was good enough to get the job done. And so, for that, I think we're really, really grateful. And you know, to give with Jim to work and really, you know, win his first event here in 11 years, it's just it's a really awesome experience, and you couldn't really ask for anything else.
What kind of boat prep program do you guys go through for the next 3 regattas? I mean, you guys do a lot of work for the boat. Is this a Terry question or a Jim question?
It's not. I mean, the boat's, you know, where the boat is slowly getting worked up, and we're, you know, ticking away at sails and things like that, and you know, all the little, you know, 0.5% gains that you can get. But ultimately, you know, I think we're looking for our biggest gains in our people, and the consistency that we have around the race course, and the consistency we have around marks. You know, those are things that are unquantifiable, but give you really big gains. And so, from that perspective, you know, we're working on the people side, we're working on our sails and making our sails really good for the event. And you know, those two combinations give you a lot of boat speed. And you know, as we all know, boat speed wins. And you know, so I think between now and April, those are the things that we're going to be focusing on. And you know, we'll see how it goes. I mean, the problem is that the last 2 events we've had good regattas, and so all we're doing is you know, putting a big bullseye on ourselves for people to come after us. Well, and not that they do, but I mean, at the same time, you know, there's every day that we go upwind, there's 4 or 5 or 6 coaches both following us, taking pictures and doing things to you know, to mimic our sail setup. So you know, I think we just have to make sure that we're diligent with our preparation and staying ahead of the curve.
Well, I mean, good question for you, Jim. How do you figure out a way to try and peak at Worlds? How do you figure out a way to try and peak at the Worlds?
We just every regatta is a new regatta, and we try to go.
As we head towards the front entrance. Once again, you can take your drink with you. However, you have to leave your cup at the front.
You have to leave your cup at the front. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Go on.
You know, this class in particular is so difficult that we try to take something out of every regatta we go to, and you know, sometimes we learn. You know, I went to law school, and I had a professor.
Me too.
I had a professor who said, "You learn by doing and being done." And so, you know, when you get here and you go out and you race and you pick up this or that, and someone does something a little bit better, you try to learn from that, or if you're doing something well, you try to step up the game. I mean, we try to peak at every regatta. So I mean, we're just trying to get better all the time, and I think that's how you peak.
What do you do to keep your skills up when you're not racing in a 40? I mean, look, at the end of the day, you're racing against some of the best owner drivers on the planet. You know, you're racing against guys that have competed in the America's Cup. What do you do personally to keep your skills up?
Well, I also race a Mom 30, which or whatever it's called now, M30 or Farr 30.
We'll get into that another time.
Exactly. But we're you know, I mean, I try to sail as much as I can, and we practice as more, I think, than a lot of people do before regattas. And other than that, I just try to, I'm trying to get in better shape, personally. I think
this has made a massive difference. Since the last regatta that we sailed, Jim's lost 15 pounds.
And who have you been working with someone for that?
I use iTrain actually, which I don't know if you've ever.
I haven't.
It's cardio stuff. They have stuff on. I think it's great. It's just
iTrain. iTrain.com. I mean.
Yeah.
All right, there you go, guys.
My partner has been working with that and diet, and he's lost 50 pounds, and he's like in great shape. So I'm trying to emulate him a little bit, but it makes a big difference to for the rest of the crew if I can get a little lighter and we can put more weight on the rail, and now I'm also more athletic. That would be helpful for the program.
All right. And Terry, you know, you guys have pretty much the same crew. I know you'll lose a couple of crew to Heartbreaker, but you guys have pretty much the same crew for the next two big regattas leading up to Worlds?
Yes. And that's, you know, I mean, we had on the boat here, we had a new bow team, we had a new mast man, a new bowman with Mike Hill and Dave Gandell. And that was actually a challenge for this regatta, in that just incorporating them into everything that we do. You know, Mikey and Dave have both sailed this in the past, but they haven't been on the boat in a while, and so with everything, it changes over time. And they did an unbelievable job, and it was just awesome to see in the last race. You were talking a little bit about peaking. It was awesome to see that as the regatta went on, you know, all those little things got better and better and better. And in the last race, when we needed perfection, they delivered, which was, you know, you can't say enough about the team effort that went into this whole thing.
Well, talk about it a little bit. We watched that whole race, and as anyone who watched our On the Water Anarchy report, you know, the thousands of people that watched it, they saw you guys finish amongst the mums, well out ahead of the rest of the fleet, which we don't see a lot in the Farr 40s. You know, the finishes are not often strung out like that. You guys were, you know, 30 boat lengths ahead of the next boat. I mean, how does something like that happen in this fleet?
The interesting thing about that one, and you know, like I touched on earlier, I didn't necessarily sail my best regatta. Halfway through that race, Mean Machine was ahead of us, and we got around the top mark the second time after being in the lead, and then Mean Machine passed us on the second beat. We got around the top mark for the final run. Four-way, Jim did a great job of getting down inside, and we were in a massive right shift coming into the top. Guys got the jib down quickly. We were able to roll into a nice jibe and get out on our own and sail the boat the way we like to sail. But it's all those little things that happen through those, you know, through those maneuvers that, from a tactical perspective, allow you to execute what you want to do. And once that happened, we got out by ourselves. We had a couple nice smooth jibes and about 22 knots of wind, and got around the bottom in a nice clean douse. Everybody hit the rail right out of the bottom, and you know, from that point it was actually a little dicey because we were at a big right shift. Our main competitor split, and I said to Jim, you know, 2 minutes out of the bottom, hey, they're going to go for it here. We can sail their race, and we risk losing the regatta. We can sail our race. It might not happen for us, but let's just, you know, let's trust ourselves here and see how it goes. And fortunately, it all went well.
It went really, really well.
Yeah. But it's, you know, those are team testing times, and you know, everybody's the beauty of the Barking Mad team is everybody gives 110% all the time. Even when the thing's going completely upside down and we're not doing things well and I'm screwing up tactically, everybody is relentless in their jobs. And that's, when you get to work in that atmosphere, it's really, really strong.
Jim, give the typical sailboat owner some tips. You race in a class where the owners are drivers and have to be, and are not the best pros in the world. Because you're not pros, you're owner drivers, you're amateurs. Give a guy, what's the top tip you can give to any sailboat owner who's got crew who may very well be guys who sail 50 days more a year than you and who make it a living. Give these guys a tip to how you can work with your crew to get the most out of your boat, any boat.
Well, first of all, you hire Terry Hutchinson because he is a superstar and he's probably the best sailor on the planet. But the other thing that you would do is you have to put time in the boat, you have to practice, and you have to develop a team and a chemistry that you're comfortable with. We approach this like family, and all of my people are my people. They're my friends. They're I rely on them, and they give it their all, and I try to give them back what I can. It's I don't think it's rocket science, but it's just developing a feel for a camaraderie, because there are times that things go bad. We were racing in Sydney. I remember Sydney. We were out of the regatta going into the last race, Worlds, and we were laughing and joking, and we went on and won the last race. It's like, I don't think some guys would do that. I think some guys would have packed it in and not still been competing, and you just have to try all the time. It's not easy. And Ernesto is very happy to say all the time, if it were easy, I wouldn't be doing it. But it's true. There's a lot of work and a lot of effort and a lot of preparation that goes into it. And if you don't do that, you're probably not going to win. And so you need to put that time and effort into it and see where you are. And if you don't win, then you have to figure out why you didn't win and what you can do better. And it's just chipping away at it.
Well, one more question. You brought up Ernesto. How do you feel to be sitting this one out? It looks like it's going to go to a catamaran race.
If it's a catamaran, I'm happy to be sitting it out.
Not your thing.
It's really a shame what's happened to the event, and I don't know enough to know whose fault it really is. I mean, it's to a certain extent it becomes a little bit obvious because there's only really two people involved. But the America's Cup is a great event, and I think the last one that we just had in July of 2007 proved that it's a great event. But at some point, it's beyond where I'm at. I'm a sailor, and I'm a competitor, and that's what I do. And these guys have taken it to a different level that I'm not really involved with, and so
you should ask your owner about it. He went to law school.
Yeah, but they had a responsibility to do what was right for the event, as well as serve their own purposes. And unfortunately, it appears that they went a little bit too far on some of those things. And so, Mr. Ellison called him out on it, and here we sit. But the fortunate thing is, and when you are removed from the America's Cup and you see all these things that are happening outside the world of the America's Cup, you realize there's a whole nother part of sailing that's just an unbelievable part. Having the fortune to work for somebody like Jim, I mean, it's the best thing going. And so, the America's Cup will come and go, but as Jim touched on, I mean, we're a bit of a family and we're all friends, and so, you know, those things start to take a higher priority than the actual America's Cup, because you're never really sure where that's going to be, but you know, working and sailing for Jim is a constant, and so you really want to make sure you do a good job for him and for the program that you work for, because inevitably that's who, you know, he takes care of me and he takes care of my family, and it's just a spectacular thing where, you know, the America's Cup, you know, who knows.
You guys, we'll see you in Miami for sure.
Cheers.
Congratulations, you earned every inch of it. Every inch of it. You guys rock. We love you.
Thank you very much.